What is going on, guys? SkiveWalker here. Now, today's episode is going to be a little different. We did talk a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Actually, that's really the only thing we did talk about was Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Stuff going around the league, playoffs coming up. Kind of my predictions for who's going to win the whole thing, and my prediction for who's going to win the MVP. Now, here's the reason for this intro. Because I thought the last time I did this was going to be a one-off thing. But you know what? Normally I do take time to edit these videos and cancel out all my mistakes. But I do make one pretty big dumb mistake. Because if you know me, I'm a complete idiot. So because I made this mistake, I thought about how I'm going to fix it. And the reason why I had time to think about how I was going to fix it was while I was exporting the video to my saved files, I decided to take a real quick shower. While I was in the shower, I decided, hey, it's been a long week for the people at the auction that I work at. It's Thursday. It's probably been a long week for you guys as well. So because of that, I decided to leave in all of my mistakes. And you will know when I mess up, other than the times that you just disagree with me. But you'll understand why and where my big mess ups are. This is going to be completely unedited other than this intro. The intro song and the outro song is normal. But the talking is unedited. You will get to hear my big blunder and my big oops, because it's the end of the week. We've had a long week. We might as well start the weekend off and Friday off with a little bit of humor. And Thursday with some humor if you're watching it today, the day that's recorded on April 5th. If you're watching it tomorrow, April 6th, no better way to start off with a Friday and to start off the weekend than with some Cavs talk and also some humor because I'm an idiot. Now, other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like button. But don't just hit the like button because I ask. And I know I ask this a lot. Hitting the like button helps the channel. And it's going to help the podcast grow as a whole. But I don't want you to like the video if you don't like the content. If you genuinely do not like the content, please leave a comment as to why. I know for me and I know for the Fett, we want to earn your like. We want to make sure that we produce the best content where you hit that like button with pride, with like, wow, they're actually doing a very good job. We actually enjoy listening to these bumbling idiots. We enjoy listening to these guys. These guys make it fun. If we genuinely do that to you, please hit that like button. It helps us more than you realize. The more likes the video has, the more comments the video has. When somebody searches for talk radio or sports talk, our brand will go up towards the top. That's the reason why I asked for so many likes. But again, I don't want you to hit the like button unless you truly enjoy the content. And again, guys, sorry for the ramble. But without further ado, here's the video. See you. What is going on, guys? SkiveWalker here. Today, we are going to be talking about some Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Told you guys the daily uploads are coming, and the daily uploads are here. The grind never stops. Here with the Fett and the SkiveWalker. Unfortunately, our schedules, again, don't line up. If you guys know us, he works third shift. I work first shift. Gonna be kind of hard. But here we go. We're going to talk some Cavaliers today. The Cleveland Cavaliers only have about 4 games left until the playoffs. So we're going to be talking some playoff matchups potentially at the time of this recording. Talking about the MVP awards. My top 3 picks for who I believe that it should be. Talking about who I think is going to win the NBA championship and why. Just a couple of things. Going to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers as a team. Talk about their chances of even winning the NBA championship this year. Which I think are pretty decent. But we'll get into that later. So first and foremost, what I want to talk about. Today, April 5th, Tyronn Lue comes back to coach your Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty upset about it. Pretty heartbroken over it. Not that I don't think Ty Lue is a good stand-up guy. Because I think he is a good guy. I just don't think he's a good basketball coach. Now, he does have that NBA championship. But let's be honest, Cleveland. Let's take the homer hat off for just a minute If Draymond Green does not step over LeBron James and get that technical foul to get him tossed, do we really even win Game 5? Because whether we want to admit it or not, that was the turning point for the entire series. Wasn't Steph Curry throwing his mouthpiece, although that was awesome. It's going to be a great historic moment in Cleveland. But if we really, truly put the Homer hats down, that was the turning point of the series. And I don't even think Draymond Green is a great player. I think he is a Dennis Rodman type player where he just annoys you and out-hustles you. He has more hustle and more heart for the game than he does talent. I don't think he's a top 25 player in the league. I think he's a solid role player, but because of the heart and willpower that man has, that is why he is so good and why he is so annoying to deal with. I don't even think he's a great human being. I think he thinks he's better than what he really is. But he is the heartbeat of that team. Whether the Warriors want to admit it, or whether we here in Cleveland want to admit it, as much as we hate him, he is the heartbeat of that team. And when he went down, not with an injury, but being suspended for Game 5, that gave the Cavs just a glimmer of hope. I know he came back Game 6, and he struggled. But if he was there Game 5, do we really take that one out? We were down 3-1 and getting manhandled. We were getting pushed around like we didn't even belong to be on that court. Draymond Green goes down, and then all of a sudden the Cavs find a flicker of hope and steal Game 5. I think if Draymond Green was there and we would have won Game 5, I think Game 6 was ours regardless. I think Game 5 was the most determining factor for that entire series. I figured if we won Game 5, we would come home and win Game 6. Then I figured at Game 7, you never know in a Game 7. Things always go crazy in a Game 7. Look at this past World Series. Everything goes nuts in a Game 7. So I figured if we can get back to Game 6, we would force to 7. That was a miracle run. Something only ever done by the Boston Red Sox, and it pains me to say it. But even this run, if I was being truthfully honest, even if I wasn't a Yankee fan, that run for the city of Cleveland was something special. I think that 3-1 deficit and coming back was even more impressive than the Red Sox coming back and beating that 2004 Yankees team. Because that 2004 Yankees team, after that, didn't really do anything until they got to rebuild in 2009. When they signed CeCe Sabathia, when they signed A.J. Burnett, when Alex Rodriguez had one of the best years of his career, when Andy Pettitte pitched like he was 25 again. The Yankees didn't have that year. The Cleveland Cavaliers had to overcome a 73-9 win team. Something that was never done in NBA history, winning 73 games. I do believe Ty Lue deserves some of that credit. I don't believe he deserves the credit that he gets out of it. I don't think he is a Hall of Fame coach. I don't even think he's a good coach. I think he is a subpar coach. That doesn't mean he can't turn into a great coach later on down the road. I think he still needs to learn some more. I think he still needs to understand maybe how to, maybe not so much coach players, but design schemes, design plays, to design an offense and defense. His offense right now is terrible. His defense right now is even worse. And it reflects on the defensive ranks the Cavaliers have had year in and year out. You can say, well, we've had one of the worst defenses in the league since LeBron came back. Yes and no. The year we won the title, we had one of the best defenses in the league during the playoffs. We locked it down. What happened to that kind of defense? You lost a center. Tristan Thompson has been so bad for this team, I can't even begin to describe it. Since Tristan Thompson got that unbelievably huge contract that he did not deserve. I'm sure we can all agree he is not a type of player that deserves almost $20 million a year. But since Tristan Thompson got paid, you haven't really seen him be aggressive like he was back in that 2014 or 2016 title run till these past couple games. You can say, well, he just got a new girlfriend. He just isn't used to playing with the money. Okay, I get that. But what happened to the heart and the love of the game that you could see when Tristan Thompson played? I never thought he was a great player in the first place. But when he played, he always had more offensive rebounds because he just wanted it more. He doesn't want it more than the next guy anymore. And if that's the case, he's got to go in the offseason. I was hoping they'd get rid of him at the trade deadline. But I can understand it's going to be a hard contract to move. This year might not be so hard. I'm pretty confident it's the last year of his deal. Well, you know what? He might have 2 years. Let's see. He'll have 2 years. But I think Tristan Thompson was a big part of that championship run, and even though I don't like to admit it, he brought a lot of hustle to that team. Now, here's the reason why I don't like Ty Lue coming back. When Ty Lue missed those 9 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers' record during that stretch was 8-1. They lost 1 game. 1 game while Ty Lue was gone. That's it. Their defense still wasn't great, but it had improved. They had started holding some teams to under 100 points. Their offense was moving the ball, I think, a little bit more. Here's my problem with Ty Lue. And it still happens, and it's going to happen with LeBron James on your team, and it's a sacrifice you make to have a player like LeBron James. Unless you're a superstar Hall of Fame coach, which LeBron has never had in his career. Here's the problem with Ty Lue. His offense is somebody dribbles the ball up the court, whether it be LeBron James, Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, J.R. Smith. One of the guys who brings the ball up the court is normally also the one who shoots it. Which isn't always a bad thing if the ball is moving like it's supposed to, like it's a team game, like the game is meant to be played. But Ty Lue's offense makes it to where the ball handler dribbles the ball up. They set one pick. He rolls off that pick, passes it to the guy who set the pick. The guy then comes off another pick set by the guy who he just set the pick for, gives the ball back and cuts to the hole and then passes out to a three-point shooter. Sure, you may get some teams out of position that way if they really don't know how to defend it or you just have better athletes and better talent. But when you get to the playoffs, that doesn't work. The reason why Greg Popovich is so successful was, yeah, he had Tim Duncan, he had great teams, but his offense moves the ball. I don't think Popovich even has a chance this year. But his team is competitive even without Kawhi Leonard, without Tim Duncan, with an older Manu Ginobili, with an older Tony Parker, and the LaMarcus Aldridge-led team that LaMarcus Aldridge is a good player, but he's not a superstar player. Yet his team is still fifth in the West. Still number 5 in a very competitive West, and he doesn't even have his best player. And he has an aging roster. Well, aging older, or he's got the 2 players that have been with him for a while. But he doesn't have that elite talent anymore. He has Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard hasn't been playing because he's unhappy there for whatever reason it may be. And I think it'd be completely awesome if the Cleveland Cavaliers in the offseason would make their pick with a Brooklyn pick and then trade him or trade whatever they have to except for LeBron James and Kevin Love to get Kawhi Leonard. I think that would be absolutely amazing and best case scenario for the Cavs. Other than drafting a center. If they draft a center, it's going to be kind of hard to get rid of him for Kawhi Leonard. But then again, you get Kawhi Leonard. So pick whichever side you want to be on that side. Maybe you just sign a center and get Kawhi Leonard. But get to the topic back at hand. Popovich's system works because the ball moves. Not the same person who brings it up doesn't always score, and he doesn't always get the assist. But the ball moves, they're still getting theirs, and their team is successful. So I think as great as LeBron James is, and as great of a career he has had, he could have been so much better. And people, when they hear that, are going to be like, what in the world are you talking about? Here's why. If LeBron James could have played with a Greg Popovich, or if he could have played with a Phil Jackson, or even Brian Stevens over in Boston right now, that guy's probably the best coach in basketball. Or second best coach in basketball, sorry. Greg Popovich is obviously the best coach. But Mr. Stevens is probably the second best. But if you could have LeBron James play with one of those guys, where their whole offensive and defensive philosophy is team-first basketball, I think LeBron James would have been open more. I think he would have gotten more attempts at the free throw line, which he's not a great free throw shooter, but maybe those coaches could have taught him how to shoot free throws better. I think he could have shot better threes better. I think his defense would have been better, even though I think he's a great defensive player when he wants to be. But I think those coaches could have motivated him to have played even harder on both sides of the ball. Because LeBron James' offense is the same thing as Ty Lue's, and I think that's why Cavs management brought Ty Lue in once they fired David Blatt. And I think that's why they kept Ty Lue. Obviously, he was the assistant coach, and that's kind of what you do, but I think that's why they kept Ty Lue there. Ty Lue's defensive scheme is so bad, and it happens time and time again. Whenever an opposing player cuts, the entire Cavs team collapses to stop the cutter. When that happens, there are three other guys that are wide open at the three-point line. And that's why we give up so many threes. That's why teams shoot such a high percentage of threes against us. Because we don't stay on our man. Our team does not trust each other on defense. I would much rather give up the layup than give up 3 points. Because it seems like our opponents are shooting threes better than they're shooting twos against us. Maybe that's just because three-pointers count more. I don't know. But I think that's why Ty Lue is not a good fit for this Cavs team. I don't think he's a good fit for any team. But I think he also could become a great coach because I think his players like playing for him. But I also don't think he can yet instill the type of trust in his players like the basketball game was made to be played with. Trusting your teammates on defense, trusting your teammates on offense. If they're having a bad game, somebody pick them up, give them some encouragement, get them some open looks. Maybe change the game plan a little bit if one player's having an off day. Ty Lue cannot do that. So I think Ty Lue coming back is actually going to hurt the Cavs more than it's going to help. But as of this recording, if we're looking at the Eastern Conference, the number 1 seed is the Toronto Raptors. The number 2 seed is the Boston Celtics. Those 2 seeds are locked up. With the news of Kyrie Irving going out today for the rest of the season, pretty obvious. I don't think Boston's going to. They're still a solid team, and they got one of the best coaches in basketball. But they're not going to catch Toronto, and Cleveland just doesn't have enough games to catch up. So Toronto and Boston are going to be your locked-in 1 and 2 seeds. Toronto will face Milwaukee, Boston against Washington, which I think is going to be a great series, and I think it goes 6 or 7. Then you have Cavs and Miami, which a lot of people want to see because they never got to see LeBron and Wade in a playoff game, in a playoff atmosphere. They've seen them on the same team, not against each other. Even though D-Wade's a little bit older, you can't tell me he would not like to win one more time. And then you have Philly and Indiana. Now, this could always switch. The Cavs and Philly are tied right now. They're tied for third place. Cleveland has a head-to-head advantage, and it puts them into third and Philly at 4. But they're tied at 48 and 30. So with 4 games left to play, anything can happen. I think out of this bunch, Toronto's going to win. I think the Cavs win. I think Philly wins. Then I think Washington takes it. I think Washington will win in 6 because Boston just doesn't have the firepower to stay with Washington. They don't have anybody to stop Morrison Gortat. Nobody anymore is going to stop John Wall, and nobody's going to stop Bradley Beal. And they're just going to have their way with Boston. I think Boston is a good enough team and well-coached enough team to keep it close and to keep it to 6. But I think at the end of the day, Washington just has better players. Then as long as I'm correct, Cleveland then would go on to face Philly, which is a series just about everybody would like to see. And here's why I think Cleveland struggles. I think they ultimately win, but I think they struggle. Philly has Joel Embiid, a big man in the middle that Cleveland doesn't have anybody to stop. Nobody on the Cavs roster can stop him. We do not have a true center. We don't. Ante Zizic, but are you going to put Ante Zizic out there in a playoff atmosphere game, in a game that means so much against Joel Embiid? I like Ante Zizic. I think he can become a pretty solid player in this league. But you do not stick him up against Joel Embiid in a playoff game. Maybe towards the end of the game, maybe for 5, 7, maybe even 10 minutes. But you do not play him out there for more than 10 minutes. I think that series might go 7. That one can go 6 or 7 as well. Just for that simple fact. The Cavs are going to have enough firepower to overpower them, but Philly is no slouch. Philly is for real. The process is coming true. Then you have Toronto and Washington. I think Toronto wins. And then you have Cleveland and Toronto for the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Cavs might actually win that in 5. I think Toronto stacks up better for the Cavs than Philly. Even though Toronto has 2 good big men, and Jonas Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka, but it's not the same as Joel Embiid. The Cavs are able to defend those guys, where they're more of outside-in guys than Joel Embiid is inside-out. And they're also not rim protectors like Joel Embiid is. So I have Cleveland coming out of the East. Their only real tough series, I think, is going to be against Philly. I think they're going to beat Miami in probably 4 games. I don't think Miami has anywhere close to the time to stop them. But Hassan Whiteside is a very interesting player to watch out for in that series if this scenario does happen. In the West, you have Houston and New Orleans. The battle of 2 of my 3 MVP candidates, and we'll get into that at the very end. Houston, New Orleans, Golden State and Minnesota, Portland and OKC, Utah and San Antonio. Houston will sweep the Pelicans. Sorry to say it, Pelicans fans, but I believe Houston will sweep you, and it will be a relatively easily won series. Golden State, Minnesota is going to be interesting. I pick the Warriors in 5. I think Minnesota can steal one at home. I don't think they are ready just yet. Minnesota is getting closer, but they are not ready yet. Portland and OKC is going to be a great series, possibly going 6, maybe even 7. Even though Portland has the higher seed, I don't think they have enough to keep up with Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George. And I think OKC takes it. Utah and San Antonio. I believe San Antonio will win just because of Greg Popovich. And that is the only reason I'm picking San Antonio at all. And you know what? I am an idiot looking back at this. Cut. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Cut all of this out. Me, future me. We're cutting all of this out. Toronto would then face Toronto would face Philly. Toronto will beat Philly, but it'll be a good series. Sorry, I'm all flustered. Now that I'm looking at this, I completely goofed it up. I didn't even read my notes correctly, and I apologize. Toronto will beat Philly in 6 for the same reasons why I picked the Cavs over Philly. Toronto has the big men that play outside in. Philly has the big men that play inside out. And Joel Embiid is tough, but he's not going to be enough to overcome Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. Cleveland and Washington, Cleveland will win in probably 5. Cleveland and Toronto, I think Cleveland again wins in 5. Going back to the West. Houston over New Orleans, Golden State over Minnesota, OKC over Portland, San Antonio over Utah. Now, you have Houston and San Antonio, Battle of Texas. Houston will win this very easily, probably 4, maybe 5, just because of how good Popovich is. OKC and Golden State, I think Golden State's just too much for OKC. Golden State's going to win this one probably 5. OKC might win 2 at home and push it to 6, but I don't think the Warriors have anything really to worry about there. Houston and Golden State. This series is going 7. This series, I promise you, will go 7. This is the series everybody wants to see because it is most people's pick to win the NBA championship this year. Most people are either picking the Warriors or most people are picking the Rockets. Understandably so. The Rockets right now have the best record in the NBA. Best record. Their record stands. Let me find it here. The record stands at 63-15. Very, very good record. 63-15 with a couple games to go. They have a great 1-2-3 punch with James Harden leading the way. My favorite player, Chris Paul. And then a player most people don't know about. But let me tell you about him. Clint Capella. Clint Capella. One of the most underrated players in the NBA. He is a 6'10" center. He guards the hole very well. 2 blocks per game. 2 blocks per game. He's still relatively young. Clint Capella is going to be the difference maker in this series. People may say, well, you don't have enough to stop Golden State. I disagree. And also the thing that's going to be huge here, this year, 2017, 2018 stats. The Houston Rockets attempt 42.3 threes per game. The Golden State Warriors shoot 28.9. The Rockets shoot more threes than the Warriors now. Not only do they shoot more threes than them, they also have the interior presence that Golden State just doesn't have. Now, the Warriors shoot a better percentage. The Warriors hit 39% of their shots, while the Rockets are all the way down at 13, shooting 36% of their shots. However, the Rockets have Clint Capella, and the Warriors do not have a good center. Zaza Pachulia will not stop Clint Capella. Clint Capella stats, he's played in 71 games, 14 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game, 0.9 assists, and 1.9 blocks. There is nobody on the Warriors who is going to stop him. He's going to have his way in the paint. While James Harden, Chris Paul, and Eric Gordon can shoot threes and launch threes, and they will hit them. And I picked the Rockets to win in 7. Then you come down to the Houston Rockets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs are number 3 in the league in shooting three-pointers. They also shoot a better percentage of three-pointers than the Rockets. And here's the reason why I believe the Cleveland Cavaliers will get their second championship ring. I'm not a homer by any stretch. Clint Capella will have an easier time against the Cavs than he will against the Warriors. I don't think we stop him. I do think we stop Chris Paul. I do think we stop James Harden. Not stop, but slow down. There's nobody that will stop LeBron James in this series. You can say, well, Kevin Durant is on the Warriors. Don't you think that he's going to have his way with Houston? Yeah, I do. And Durant played a great finals last year. The very first time he's ever shown up in the playoffs. I don't know if he can do it again. We don't know the health of Steph Curry. We don't know if he's going to be 100% healthy for the playoffs. And the West is better. The Warriors are going to be tested more and pushed more before they even get to Houston. Before they even get there, they're going to play better teams than they faced the entire 3 years that they've gone back to the finals. And because they're going to be tested, I don't believe they're going to be 100% healthy. The Rockets will win and then send Cleveland exactly what they need to get LeBron James another ring here in Cleveland, to get him his 4th championship ring. I picked the Cavs to win in 7, to win in Houston, and still not have a championship won here in Cleveland, but at least they will get the 2nd ring. Now, going to the MVP candidates, I'm going to hit my top 3. I'm going to get the heck out of here. Number 3, James Harden. I've said before, Houston is 63-15. James Harden is averaging 30.7 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 8.8 assists. He's played in 69 games. His second best player with him, Chris Paul, has played in 55 games. Okay, that's going to be very important. So a second best player, his running mate, has played in 55 games. He leads all of my candidates in points per game. That's it. James Harden has done a magnificent job leading the Houston Rockets to the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and having the best overall record in the NBA. However, LeBron James is my number 2. People in Cleveland are going to be like, what? Yes, guys, LeBron James does not deserve the MVP award this year. And I'm from Cleveland, and I'm a homer. And LeBron James does not deserve the MVP this year. Even though Cleveland has gone through what they've gone through this year. They losing Kyrie Irving. Isaiah Thomas coming in here and being a complete flop. Crowder coming in here and being a complete flop. We swapped it for the Brooklyn pick. We got Larry Nance Jr. We got George Hill. We got all those guys. Clarkson brought in some good players, some good pieces. We've had an up and down season. It's been a season, the biggest roller coaster ride of a season I've ever seen a Cleveland sports team have. Let's put it that way. LeBron James is averaging 27.4 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 9.1 assists. He's played in every game, guys. He is on pace to finally, for the first time in his career, play all 82. Unbelievable. At his age, still putting up these kind of stats and still being able to play every night and being that reliable. But if you look at his stats and round up, him and James Harden have the same assists per game. Now he has 4 more rebounds per game, and he averages 3 points less. They have the same amount of assists. Both guys get their teammates involved. James Harden has the better record. Kevin Love, his second best player, has 56 games. Kevin Love has played in one more game than Chris Paul's running mate has. Now, James Harden has also had Clint Capella, and I've already gone over his stats. LeBron's third player is, we don't know. Some games it's Rodney Hood. Other games it's Jordan Clarkson. Some games it's Larry Nance. Shoot, the game that we went to on Tuesday night against the Raptors, it was his third best guy was Jose Calderon. You never know who his third guy is going to be, which is why I think it puts him ahead of James Harden. Because sure, he's got that second superstar. Kevin Love has played in one more game than Chris Paul, but LeBron doesn't have a number 3. Where James Harden can go to a Clint Capella, he can go to an Eric Gordon. Where I don't think Eric Gordon should be a number 3 option, but he's a good enough player. He's a veteran player that knows how to help score and can play his role great. LeBron doesn't have that number 3 scorer. My number one player for my MVP list, Anthony Davis. I'll read you off his stats, and here's why. Anthony Davis is averaging 28.1 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and he's played in 71 games. Their record is 44-34. The number 8 seed in the West. Anthony Davis's second teammate, or his second best player, Boogie Cousins, played in 48 games, and he's been out the rest of the year. He has not had a number 2 option almost half the season. And he still has his team in the playoffs. At least in the hunt for the playoffs. Currently locked in at that 8 spot. But here is why Anthony Davis is number 1. He's averaging more points than LeBron. He's averaging more rebounds than both LeBron and James Harden. Now, he doesn't get the same amount of assists. He's also played in 71 games. But the simple fact that we cannot figure out who his second best player is, not let alone his third, is the second best player what? Nikolai Mirotic? Aiden Clark? Solomon Hill? Rajon Rondo? Who is it? If Anthony Davis is not on that team, they might be worse than the Brooklyn Nets. Now, if Boogie Cousins was here and playing, then you can talk a little bit more about maybe pushing LeBron to that 1 spot. Because I'm sure Anthony Davis would drop down a little bit. But Anthony Davis is doing this on his own. He is single-handedly carrying his team. LeBron James had to do that for a while until Kevin Love came back. But Anthony Davis is doing it night in and night out, single-handedly carrying his team to the playoffs. As much as I want to give LeBron James the MVP award this year, and in Cleveland, he is our most valuable player. And he's probably the best player in the world. And because he's the best player, you can say he deserves the MVP every year. And I can hear you on that, and I can respect your argument. But this season, Anthony Davis has been almost irreplaceable for his team. If you put LeBron James in New Orleans, they might... Who knows what the record is? He probably has better stats than what he does here in Cleveland. And then you put him right there at the top of the MVP race. But even having Kevin Love, I think he's still number 2. I think he's still the best player in basketball. I think he's going to be the best player in basketball until he decides he doesn't want to be the best player in basketball. But those are my picks. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I have the Cavs over the Rockets in 7, winning it in Houston. Houston beating the Warriors in 7. I have the Cavs wiping the floor with Toronto. I apologize for the goof up earlier. But hey, let's get this discussion started. Leave a like. Make sure you smash that like button, please. I cannot stress to you how important it is for the channel and for the podcast to grow. We want to get this out to as many people as we can. And like I made it, like in the description of the last video, I want to make this channel a family. Me and the Fett both want to make this a family. Somewhere where you can come in and just be one of the guys. Somewhere where you could listen in, leave a comment when we go live. You can join in on the discussion. Somewhere you can just join in the chat and feel welcome. Like, you just knocked on the door, came downstairs, came into the man cave, grabbed some pizza, sat down with the guys, and just started talking sports. That is our vision for what we want to do here. But we can't do that without your guys' help. So please leave a like button, leave a comment, interact with us. Leave us some comments. Talk to us. Give us your reasons of why you think I'm an idiot for picking the Cavs, or why you think I'm an idiot for picking Anthony Davis to win the MVP award. Leave me your comments. Give me your views. Give me your perspective. Let me hear what you have to say. I would absolutely love to interact with each and every one of you in the comment section and have just a discussion like we would just sitting down in a man cave. While you're liking this video, you're commenting on the video and having some fun down in the comments. And remember, keep it PG, keep it family, keep it friendly. Don't need to harass one another. Keep it fun, keep it civil. While you're hitting the like button, while you're leaving a comment, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell so that every time we drop a video, and remember, it is daily uploads, and daily uploads are here, you will never, ever miss one single episode that we drop. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And with that, SkiveWalker signing out. Peace.